The keycard clicks in my apartment door lock, and my shoulder aches from lugging 8 weeks of life in Canada through Denver International. Home smells exactly like I left it, coffee beans and lavender air freshener. But something's wrong. Aunt Paula stands in my living room, her pearl necklace catching the afternoon light. "Welcome home, dear." Her smile stretches too wide, like a rubber band about to snap. "I brought you a little something." My carry-on slips from my shoulder, thudding against hardwood. The crisp white envelope in her manicured fingers bears a silver border I recognize from the wedding planning websites I'd bookmarked months ago. "Sometimes life writes better love stories than we do, dear." The envelope trembles in my hands. Inside, delicate black script dances across thick cardstock. "Kayla and Landon joyfully invite you." The room spins, my cousin's name next to my fiancé's, the day toward date 3 months from now. My phone's already in my hand, muscle memory pulling up Landon's contact. The call fails. I try again. A computerized voice informs me the number has blocked incoming calls. "He and Kayla realized they were meant to be while you were gone." Paula perches on my couch, the sage green one Landon and I picked out last Christmas. "These things happen for a reason." Our engagement photos mock me from every wall. Landon and me at Garden of the Gods, his arms around my waist, my head thrown back laughing, us building a snowman at Winter Park. The ring me grandmother's diamond reset in rose gold still sits on my nightstand where I left it before my flight. I'd been paranoid about losing it during training. "The certification program was important for your career." Paula's voice drips honey-coated venom, but Landon needed someone present, someone supportive. 5 years together flashed through my mind. The nervous coffee date where he spilled his latte all over his khakis. Moving in together after 2 years, his ancient futon crammed next to my IKEA furniture. His proposal last spring, simple and perfect in our favorite breakfast spot. When I told him about the project management certification opportunity in Vancouver, he'd seemed supportive. 8 weeks will fly by," he'd said, helping me research apartments near the training center. We'd already booked the mountain lodge for October. 300 guests. The savings account we'd built together held $18,000, my consulting bonuses making up most of it. Our last video call 2 weeks ago replays in my head. His distracted answers, the way he'd rushed to end the conversation. "You were so busy with your classes." Paula examines her French manicure. Landon felt abandoned. "Kayla understood she works part-time at the dentist's office, you know. Keeps reasonable hours. She was there for him when he needed someone." The pieces clicked together like a jigsaw puzzle from hell. The family barbecue Paula hosted in July. How Landon's calls grew shorter, his texts more sporadic. The vague Instagram posts about unexpected blessings and fate's perfect timing. My laptop sits open on the kitchen counter. 3 clicks to my banking app reveal what I already suspect: Landon quit his engineering job 4 months ago. Never mentioned a word about it. "Kayla won't abandon him for a career like you did." Paula stands, smoothing her linen pants. She knows what matters in life. The lock clicks behind her with quiet finality. I sink to the floor, surrounded by the life I thought I was coming home to. The future Mrs. and Mr. Sign on the fridge. The wedding planning binder bulging with vendor contracts. Our vacation photo wall laughing at my stupidity. My hands shake as I pull the frames down one by one. Each happy moment becomes a lie in reverse. The snowman photo cracks as it hits the trash bag. Morning light creeps through the windows as I seal the last box of memories. My eyes burn from crying, but my spine straightens with each item packed away. They can have each other. I won't fight for someone who couldn't even face me with the truth. I won't fight for any of it at all. The phone rings at 3 a.m. at the dawn. Mom's number flashes on my screen and my stomach drops. She never calls this late unless something's wrong. "Your father had words with Paula tonight." Her voice carries decades of exhaustion. "There's something you need to know about your aunt." I sink onto my couch, surrounded by half-packed boxes of my former life. "What happened?" "Remember how I met your father?" A long pause fills the line. Paula saw him first at the county fair. She spent weeks telling everyone they were practically dating. My fingers traced the familiar pattern of my grandmother's quilt. But they weren't? Not even close. She waved to him at the Ferris wheel once. Mom's laugh holds no humor. When he asked me to dance at the Harvest Festival, Paula didn't speak to me for months. The pieces click together like a jigsaw puzzle in reverse, each connection revealing an uglier picture. She's still punishing you through me, isn't she? Paula married Frank Thompson 6 weeks after your father and I got engaged. Everyone knew she did it to prove something. Mom's voice breaks. When Frank left her with a 2-year-old Kayla, your father helped her make rent. He's been sending her money every month since then. The room spins. I grab a pen, needing something solid in my hand. Every month? For 25 years? $500, like clockwork. Papers rustle in the background. He finally stopped tonight, said he wouldn't fund the destruction of his daughter's happiness. My throat closes. Dad, quiet and steady, who never raised his voice, who taught me to change my own tires and balance my checkbook. Who hugged me every time I left the house, even after I turned 28. Paula showed up at the house an hour ago. Mom's words sharpen, demanding the wedding fund, saying it belonged to Kayla now, that you owed them for abandoning Landon. The pen snaps in my grip. Black ink bleeds across my palm like a bruise. I abandoned him? I was gone 8 weeks for a certification he encouraged me to get. While you were earning that certification, Paula had Kayla bringing him dinner 3 nights a week. Invited him to family gatherings she made sure we didn't know about. Mom's voice hardens. She planned this, sweetheart. Like she's planned everything since the day your father chose me. The weight of generational wounds crashes through my chest. Every snide comment about my career. Every comparison between Kayla's traditional choices and my professional ambitions. Every time Paula called me the busy one at family gatherings, lips curved in a smile that never reached her eyes. Your father told her something tonight I've wanted to say for 30 years. Pride and pain tangle in Mom's voice. He said, "You didn't lose Bob because of Margaret. You lost him because you saw him as a prize to be won instead of a person to be loved." Tears spill down my cheeks. Not for Landon or Kayla or the life I thought I was building, for the decades of poison Paula's bitterness fed into our family tree. For the little girl she'd raised to be a weapon instead of a person. I've got a friend. The words tumble out before I can stop them. Sarah from the consulting firm. She's got a spare room in Seattle. Seattle? Mom's breath catches. That's so far. I need far right now. I look around my apartment at the walls still covered in evidence of a future that died while I was chasing my dreams. I already applied for positions there. What about the wedding fund? 80% of that money came from my bonuses. My voice steadies. I'm closing the account tomorrow morning. Paula will lose her mind. Let her. The words carry no anger, just certainty. I'm done paying the price for a war that started before I was born. A key rattles in my front door. I freeze, heart pounding, until Dad's familiar bulk fills the doorway. His eyes are red, his silver hair rumpled. When he sees me on the couch, phone pressed to my ear, he crosses the room in 3 strides and pulls me into a hug that smells like Old Spice and safety. I've got her, he says loud enough for Mom to hear. I'll bring home breakfast. Dad. I press my face into his flannel shirt. I'm so sorry. No, his chest rumbles against my ear. You have nothing to be sorry for. I should have seen what Paula was doing years ago. Should have cut off that money the first time she tried to compete with your mother through you and Kayla. I got a job offer. My voice muffles against his shirt. In Seattle. They want me to start in 2 weeks. His arms tighten. Then we better start packing. But what about Paula? And Kayla? And all the wedding guests? Dad pulls back, his hands gentle on my shoulders. The lamplight catches silver strands in his beard, marks of time I somehow missed appearing. Your mother and I will handle the guests. As for Paula, his jaw tightens. Some people spend so long poisoning the water, they forget how to drink anything else. I don't want revenge. The truth of it surprises me. I just want to be free of all of it. Then that's what we'll give you. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a thick envelope. But first, I think you should read this. Bank statements spill across my coffee table. 30 years of canceled checks to Paula Thompson. Notations in my father's careful handwriting. Rent payments, car repairs, Kayla's braces. Summer camps, college application fees. I kept track of everything. Dad's voice roughens. Thought I was helping her build a life. never saw I was just funding her revenge. The last check, dated 3 days ago, bears a final notation. For services rendered in the destruction of my daughter's happiness, payment stopped. I reach for his hand, feeling the calluses earned from decades of construction work, the hands that built my childhood treehouse, taught me to ride a bike, held me through every scraped knee and broken heart. Thank you, my voice cracks, for choosing Mom, for choosing me. His fingers tighten around mine. Every single day, kiddo, every single day. Outside my window, Denver's lights glitter like fallen stars. Tomorrow I'll close the account that was supposed to fund my wedding, pack the life I built here into boxes. Write a resignation letter citing personal circumstances. But tonight, I lean against my father's solid warmth and let myself feel the weight of 3 generations of women's choices. Paula's bitter pride, Kayla's calculated betrayal, my mother's quiet strength, my own power, finally unleashed from the cage of family obligation. 2 weeks until Seattle. Until a city where no one knows my name or the weight of history I'm choosing to set down. Where every sunrise brings a chance to write my own story, free from the shadow of a decades-old rivalry I never asked to inherit. I close my eyes and breathe in Old Spice and certainty. Tomorrow will come soon enough. Tonight belongs to truth and healing and the steady heartbeat of unconditional love. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and now 3 months later. The Seattle rain taps against my apartment windows, a steady rhythm that's become more comforting than melancholy. From my tiny balcony, container garden, Puget Sound stretches gray and endless, white caps dancing under heavy clouds. 3 months ago, this view terrified me with its unfamiliarity. Now it whispers of possibility. My alarm chimes at 6. The morning ritual grounds me. Coffee brewing, toast burning slightly because I still haven't figured out the temperamental settings on my new toaster. A quick check of my reflection shows dark circles fading, replaced by determination in my eyes. The certification from Vancouver already hangs framed on my office wall at Marshall Consulting, proof that running away sometimes means running toward something better. I go to work. The Wilson account needs fresh eyes. Roger announces at the morning meeting, sliding a thick folder across the conference table. Brooke, you've got experience with similar logistics challenges? My spine straightens. Yes, my certification program covered several parallel cases. The words come steady now, professional. No one here knows about Landon, about Kayla, about the wedding that should have happened last month. They know me only as the ambitious new hire who stays late and delivers results ahead of schedule. Roger nods, already moving on to the next agenda item. But I catch Sarah from accounting giving me an approving glance. Small victories, they add up. Thursday evening finds me at Global Flavors cooking class, chopping vegetables beside strangers who've become familiar faces. Tonight we're attempting Thai curry, and the scent of lemongrass and ginger fills the industrial kitchen. Watch the knife angle. Chef Marcus corrects gently, demonstrating the proper technique. My hands remember similar lessons from my grandmother, decades of Sunday dinners where she taught me to create order from chaos, one precise cut at a time. The cursor blinks on my laptop screen later that night. Doctor. Sharon's weekly therapy homework waits. Explore the generational patterns in your family's approach to relationships. Words spill onto the page about Aunt Paula's desperate grip on status, about Kayla's learned helplessness, about my own former need to fix everyone's problems while ignoring the warning signs in my own life. A text from Mom breaks my concentration. Kayla and Landon's wedding photos all over Facebook. Want me to call? No need, I type back, working on the Wilson proposal. It's not entirely a lie. The folder sits open beside me, numbers and logistics a welcome escape from memories. My phone stays dark. Mom understands now. She's learned when to push and when to let me process alone. The weekly Sunday calls have evolved from tear-filled confessions to actual conversations. Last week, we spent an hour discussing her garden renovation without once mentioning the elephant in the room. The Wilson proposal comes together over 3 sleepless nights. Graphs and projections flow from my fingertips, insights sharp and clear. When I present to the client team, Roger's eyebrows lift at the innovative solutions I've mapped out. Impressive work, he says afterward. The promotion track usually takes a year, but we might need to accelerate that timeline. A genuine smile spreads across my face. The first one in months that doesn't feel forced. In the bathroom mirror later, I catch myself humming while washing my hands. The sound startles me into silence, but the moment marks something significant. 10 whole hours without thinking about the betrayal. Lucy from 4B becomes my walking companion on weekends, our feet carrying us through Discovery Park's winding trails. She's 65, recently widowed, full of stories about Seattle in the 70s. When she talks about rebuilding after loss, her wisdom comes from experience rather than pity. My Harold's been gone 3 years, she tells me one foggy morning. Some days I still reach for him in bed, but you learn to build a life in the empty spaces. In my grief support group, faces around the circle nod as I finally share the full story. No one offers advice or empty platitudes. They just listen, and somehow that's exactly what I need. You're handling this with remarkable grace, Marcus says afterward. His wife left him for his business partner last year. He gets it. The promotion letter arrives 6 months early. Team lead, with a corner office overlooking the Sound. I send a photo to my parents, and Dad books flights for the following weekend. Mom brings home-baked cookies and family photos spanning decades before the betrayal. We create new memories in my small kitchen, laughing over Dad's attempts to master chopsticks at the local sushi place. Through the family grapevine, news trickles in. Landon still hasn't found writing work. Kayla's part-time dental receptionist job barely covers their rent. They've moved in with Paula, 3 adults crammed into her small ranch house, taking turns with a single bathroom. They deserve each other. My cousin Rachel texts, always ready with family gossip. I leave her message unread. Their struggles don't bring me joy or pain anymore. They're just facts, like Seattle rain or morning traffic. At night, I water my growing collection of plants, herbs in the kitchen, succulents in my bedroom, a temperamental peace lily by my desk, green things that thrive or die based on the care they receive. No complex emotions, no hidden agendas. Just honest growth, one leaf at a time. My therapy journal fills with insights about patterns broken and boundaries built. Dr. Sharon notes my progress, the way I've stopped apologizing for my career ambitions. Success is the best revenge, she says, then catches herself. Though I suspect you're past wanting revenge at all. She's right. The woman who drove away from Denver with a broken heart and a U-Haul full of shattered plans doesn't exist anymore. In her place stands someone stronger, someone who understands that walking away from toxicity isn't cowardice, it's courage. The rain against my windows has become a lullaby. On clear nights, the Sound reflects stars and city lights, a reminder that beauty exists even in darkness. I've stopped checking social media, stopped asking about news from home. My story is writing itself in Seattle's gray skies and green parks, in quiet triumphs and peaceful mornings. Some nights, memories of Landon still ambush me. His laugh over breakfast, the way he used to wrap me in bear hugs after long days. But those moments come less frequently now, ghosts fading in the light of my rebuilt life. 5 years of love turned to betrayal taught me more about myself than a lifetime of easy happiness ever could. I pinned my team's first successful project timeline to my office wall, right beside that certification from Vancouver. Proof that sometimes the path forward requires walking away. The corner office plants thrive in filtered sunlight, green and growing, reaching toward tomorrow. The email flashes on my screen like a slap. Landon's name in my inbox after 7 months of silence sets my coffee mug trembling against the breakfast bar of my Seattle apartment. Subject: Our wedding fund. Brooke, I know this is awkward, but I need to discuss our joint savings. Things are tight right now, and that money was meant for both of us. I never meant for any of this to happen the way it did. Circumstances just took over. Writing isn't paying what I expected, and Kayla's dental office cut her hours. We're facing eviction next month. I hate asking, but I need my share of our wedding fund to keep a roof over our heads. It was our money after all. Please help, Landon. The autumn rain drums against my windows as I read his message 3 times. Each word pierces deeper than the last. Our money. My consulting bonuses built that account while he quit his engineering job without a word. Circumstances. As if some mysterious force pushed him into my cousin's arms. 3 days pass before I touch the keyboard. The words flow with surgical precision. The money was for our future. You forfeited that the day you ghosted me and married my cousin. Do not contact me again. My finger hovers over the send button. No anger, no accusations, just truth, clean as broken bone. Click. Block. Done. 2 weeks later, Mom's voice crackles through my phone. Paula showed up at the house with Kayla and Landon. They're demanding the wedding money. What? Your father's handling it. I'll call you back. Hours crawl by. The Seattle skyline fades from steel gray to purple twilight before my phone buzzes again. You need to hear this, Mom says. Paula started screaming about what rightfully belongs to the young couple. Kayla burst into tears about bill collectors. But Landon just stood there, staring at his shoes while they fought his battle. A bitter laugh escapes me. They expected my savings to support them? That's not even the half of it. Mom's voice hardens. Your father finally snapped, told Paula he's done sending her monthly checks. Monthly checks? $500. Every month since her divorce. 28 years of enabling her, he said. Then he looked her dead in the eyes and said, You use my family's kindness to destroy my daughter. The truth of those words rings in my ears. How many times had Paula shown up at their door with another crisis? How many checks had they written to keep peace in the family? Paula collapsed on our couch, Mom continues. Started sobbing about how life never gave her a fair chance, how watching me marry your father broke something in her that never healed. How seeing you succeed while Kayla struggled felt like history repeating itself. My throat tightens. She punished me for your happiness? I told her she never lost anything. She never played fair. Mom's voice carries decades of quiet understanding. She manipulated every situation, turned every family gathering into a competition, and when that wasn't enough, she used Kayla to take what she thought I had stolen. The family group text explodes that evening. Aunt Susan sides with Paula. Uncle Robert backs Dad. Cousin Jennifer calls Kayla a homewrecker. Grandmother Ruth threatens to cancel Thanksgiving. A new message pops up from an unknown number. Kayla. Did Mom really plan this? Did she push me toward Landon on purpose? He's not even writing anymore, just plays video games while I work. Maybe she wanted me to have what you had, but all I got were his broken promises. I closed the message without responding. Let karma finish what it started. The Seattle rain keeps falling, washing away another layer of anger I didn't know I still carried. Tomorrow I'll wake up, brew my coffee, and lead my team meeting. I'll smile at the barista and joke with my colleagues and feel a little lighter. The money in my account isn't tainted anymore. It's not a wedding fund or a symbol of betrayal. It's freedom. It's karma doing her slow, steady work while I build a life they can't touch. Maybe Dad's right. Sometimes kindness becomes destruction when we let fear of confrontation guide our choices. Sometimes the hardest answer is the simplest. No more. The eviction notice flutters in the autumn breeze, its red letters stark against the white paper tacked to Paula's front door. Through my mother's weekly updates, I learned they lasted 3 months in the Victorian townhouse before the rent check started bouncing. Now Kayla, Landon, and Paula share a 2-bedroom walk-up in Aurora, where sirens serve as nightly lullabies. He stocks shelves at Target now, Mom says during our Sunday call. Her voice carries that careful neutrality she reserves for difficult topics. Morning shifts. Someone saw him in the red vest last week. I focus on stirring honey into my tea, watching the amber liquid swirl. My Seattle apartment fills with morning light, everything bright and clean. What about his writing career? Sweetheart, Mom pauses. I don't think there ever was one. The words settle like stones. 5 years of listening to Landon talk about his novel, the characters who lived in his head, the literary agent who'd love his work if he could just finish it. All excuses to avoid looking for real work while I supported us, while I believed in him. Their arguments echo through family gossip channels. Kayla screaming about broken promises in the Walmart parking lot. Landon's bitter accusations at Thanksgiving dinner about being pushed into a fantasy life. Paula's constant presence in their tiny apartment driving final wedges between them. Remember when your father proposed to me instead of Paula? Mom's voice softens with old memories. She married Tom Richardson 2 months later. Never loved him, just wanted to prove she could get a husband too. A familiar story, but the parallels strike harder now. Tom left after 3 years. Paula's been chasing security through other people ever since. I watch a ferry cut through Puget Sound, sunlight sparking off waves. Did she ever apologize to you? No. Mom's laugh holds no bitterness. Paula doesn't apologize, she justifies. The truth of this plays out in real time. Paula starts calling relatives, voice thick with tears, asking for loans. When they refuse, she tries my grandparents. Their response travels through the family grapevine, with lightning speed. Not until you apologize to Brooke, Grandma Ruth reportedly said, and mean it. My father's monthly support checks to Paula stopped. He'd sent them ever since her divorce. $500 of guilt money, paid in silence while she slowly poisoned our family bonds. The isolation hits Paula hardest. Thanksgiving invitations dry up. Christmas card lists shrink. Family members stop accepting her calls. Meanwhile, my own quiet success speaks volumes. Team leader, at 28. A corner office with a view. Respect earned through work rather than manipulation. Your cousin's starting to see it, Mom tells me one Sunday. Kayla mentioned going to therapy, says she's recognizing patterns from childhood. I think of Kayla's tearful face in old photos, Paula's hand always gripping her shoulder. The constant pressure to be perfect, to compete, to win at all costs. Good for her. The call that changes everything comes on a rainy Tuesday. James, my boyfriend, brings me tea while I listen to Kayla's halting voice, all her sharp edges sanded down by humility. I knew it was wrong, she says. I let Mom convince me I deserved your life more than you did. That if I just played my cards right, I could have everything you worked for. Her breath catches. I'm so sorry, Brooke. Not because I need anything from you. Just because you deserve to hear it. I watched James move around my kitchen, starting dinner prep. His quiet strength, his respect for my boundaries, his understanding of healthy love. Everything Landon promised but never was. Thank you for telling me, I say finally. I hope you find peace, Kayla, far away from anyone who makes you doubt yourself. She leaves for Florida the next month. A clean break, a fresh start. Landon returns to engineering, his creative dreams deflated but his feet finally on solid ground. Paula sits alone in her apartment, writing letters I'll never read. The first arrives at my parents' house in spring the next month. Mom describes the careful handwriting, the silver border like a wedding invitation. She blames circumstances, Mom says, never mentions her own choices. Return to sender, I tell her. Some doors need to stay closed. James finds me on the balcony that evening, wrapped in the quilt my grandmother made. He doesn't ask about the letter or offer platitudes about forgiveness. Just holds me while I watch the city lights blur through tears I didn't expect to shed. You don't owe them closure, he whispers into my hair. You don't owe them anything. But I've found my own closure in this quiet life I've built. In the family I've chosen, the boundaries I've drawn, the peace I've earned through walking away. Some bridges burn for a reason. Their ashes fertilize new ground where healthier things can grow. Later that night, I delete the last photo of Landon from my phone. Not out of anger or pain, but because I finally understand. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for ourselves is to close a door and walk away. Let karma balance the scales while we build something better. The city stretches below my window, full of lights and possibilities. Somewhere in Aurora, Paula sits alone with her justifications. In Florida, Kayla learns who she is without her mother's voice in her head. And here in Seattle, I watch the fairy lights dot the sound like stars, finally free of the need to make sense of any of it. Some lessons cost everything and are worth every penny. I need 2 more years to keep my peace. The string lights twinkle across our back deck, casting warm shadows over faces I've grown to cherish. Seattle's autumn breeze carries the scent of James's famous apple cider and Linda's pumpkin bread through the open French doors. 2 years of building this life, piece by careful piece, and tonight it feels complete. Mom sets down her wine glass, wrapping both arms around my shoulders. This home suits you, sweetheart. Her eyes drift to the wall where my team leadership award hangs beside a candid photo of James and me hiking Mount Rainier. No wedding portraits or false promises, just real moments, hard-earned and true. The doorbell chimes. Sarah from accounting arrives with her husband, carrying a potted orchid and exclaiming over the view of the sound. These people know nothing of Landon or Kayla or family betrayals. They know me as I am now, the woman who leads critical projects, volunteers at the literacy center, and makes a mean chocolate souffle. Dad's phone buzzes during dessert. His expression shifts as he reads the message, and I know before he speaks. News from home travels fast. Kayla and Landon's divorce was finalized yesterday, he says quietly. She's moving to Boston next month, teaching job at a private school. I pass him the coffee pot, steady-handed. I hope she finds what she's looking for. The words hold no bitterness. How could they, when losing everything led me here? When that betrayal pushed me toward a life so much richer than the one I'd planned. Later, after the last guest leaves, I find an email from Kayla waiting in my inbox. My finger hovers over delete, but something in the subject line, truth, finally makes me pause. I owe you an explanation, she writes. Mom orchestrated everything, but I let her. I wanted to believe Landon was my soulmate because it meant Mom's dreams for me would finally come true. We were never right for each other. The marriage was a mistake from day one. I'm not asking for forgiveness, I just needed you to know the truth. James finds me on the balcony that night, wrapped in the soft throw blanket he bought for my birthday. His arms slide around my waist, and I lean back against his chest, watching lights flicker across the water. Penny for your thoughts? His voice rumbles against my shoulder. Kayla emailed. She's starting over in Boston. I turn to face him. She apologized, sort of. And how do you feel about that? I consider the question, tasting it like wine. Peaceful, her choices aren't my burden anymore. He nods, understanding without pushing. This man who entered my life when I'd stopped looking for love, who builds furniture in our garage and reads history books before bed. Who proposed with a simple sapphire ring because he knew diamonds carried too many memories. Speaking of choices, he says, I've been thinking about our wedding guest list. My lips quirk. Let me guess, you're wondering if we should invite Kayla? The thought crossed my mind. You seem lighter since reading her email. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reunion. I trace the anchor tattoo on his forearm. I wish her well, but that chapter's closed. 2 weeks later, the phone rings Dad again. My heart clenches at his tone. Paula's in the hospital, he says. Aggressive breast cancer. Your mother thought you should know. The old me would have booked a flight immediately, rushing to a bedside where I wasn't wanted. But I've learned about boundaries, about the difference between compassion and martyrdom. I'll send flowers, I tell him. The good kind, from that shop she always bragged about. I hung up. After the dinner that same night, James and I stood at the railing, watching the moon paint silver paths across the water. Tomorrow, I'll place the flower order. Tomorrow, I'll start planning our small wedding, surrounded by people who've earned their place in our story. Tomorrow, I'll call Mom and share more of the wisdom we've both gained about breaking cycles of hurt. But tonight, I savor this moment, the warmth of James beside me, the life we're building, the quiet certainty that sometimes losing everything shows you exactly what you need to keep. The breeze carries a whisper of wood smoke from somewhere down the hill. I close my eyes, breathing in the scent of autumn and possibility. Some lessons cost everything and are worth every penny. I stand perfectly still as the familiar words wash over me. My wedding dress ivory satin, with delicate lace, at the sleeves catches the light, streaming through the stained glass windows of St. Mary's Cathedral. Lucas's hand is warm in mine, steady and sure, as we face Pastor Wilson. If anyone can show just cause why this couple cannot lawfully be joined together in matrimony, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. The traditional phrase hangs in the air. In all my wedding daydreams, this moment passed in peaceful silence. But today, me actual wedding day, a rustle breaks the reverent quiet. My sister Rachel rises from the front pew like a judge about to deliver a sentence. A collective gasp ripples through the church. 200 heads swivel toward her as one. My mother's hand flies to her pearl necklace. My father stares straight ahead, jaw tight, as if by not looking he might make her disappear. Lucas's fingers tighten around Minanot in panic, but reassurance. When I glance at him, his eyes hold nothing but calm certainty. We both knew this might happen. We just didn't know how it would feel when it did. I object to this marriage. Rachel's voice cuts through the cathedral, precise and cold as a surgeon's scalpel. My sister's making the biggest mistake of her life. The words land like physical blows. Pastor Wilson blinks rapidly, clearly unprepared for someone to actually object at a wedding. In 28 years, I've never once heard of this happening outside of movies. Amanda deserves someone who can provide for her properly. Rachel continues, her voice gaining strength. Not someone who will keep her struggling paycheck to paycheck. Lucas is a waiter. A waiter. She practically spits the word. He serves food at Bernardo's while my sister teaches high school English. They'll never afford a house, never live comfortably, never give their children the opportunities they deserve. Pain flashes through me, but it quickly transforms into something steadier determination. I notice my parents shift in their seats. They won't meet my eyes. They won't stand up for Lucas. Or for me. I glance at Lucas, expecting to see humiliation in his expression. Instead, I find quiet dignity. His shoulders remain square, his gaze level. The corner of his mouth even lifts slightly, as if to say, "This changes nothing. We know the truth." My mind drifts back to that first evening at Bernardo's. I'd been hunched over a stack of student essays, bread pen in hand, when Lucas appeared beside my table with fresh coffee. "Hemingway or Fitzgerald?" he'd asked, nodding toward the novel serving as my paperweight. Hemingway for the prose, Fitzgerald for the heart, I'd answered without thinking. His genuine laugh had made me look up and really see him warm brown eyes that crinkled at the corners, strong hands that moved with purpose and grace as he refilled my cup. We talked books between his tables that night and the next, and soon I was timing my grading sessions to coincide with his shifts. When I finally mentioned him to Rachel, her response was immediate. "A teacher and a waiter, how quaint," she'd said, eyebrows arched. "I suppose someone needs to serve the food." That dismissal was just the beginning. At every family gathering, the whispers followed us. "Amanda's settling. She could do so much better. Such a waste of potential." What they didn't know, what I'd promised Lucas, I wouldn't reveal, was that Lucas Reed wasn't just a waiter. He was Lucas Castellano Reed, grandson of Marco Castellano and heir to Chicago's most successful restaurant empire. He worked the floor at his family's smallest establishment to learn every aspect of the business from the ground up. "We'll tell them eventually," Lucas had said one night as we walked along Lake Michigan. "But first, I want to know who sees me early, sees me and who only sees what I can give them." I'd agreed because it made sense. Because I'd watched my parents judge people based on income and status my entire life. Because I wanted my family to love Lucas for who he was, not what he owned. Now, as Rachel's objection hangs in the air between us, Lucas leans close to my ear. "Should we tell her now?" he whispers, his breath warm against my skin. I give a subtle headshake. "Not yet," I whisper back. "Let her finish." Rachel concludes with a dramatic wave of her hand. "Amanda, please, come to your senses before it's too late." Pastor Wilson clears his throat uncomfortably. The silence feels endless as everyone waits for my response. I lift my chin and find my voice. We choose to proceed with our vows. The massive crystal chandelier above the reception hall catches the afternoon light, scattering diamonds of brightness across marble floors, so polished they mirror the guests' movements. I run my finger along the edge of a linen tablecloth that probably costs more than a month of my teacher's salary. Lucas stands beside me, his hand warm against the small of my back as we greet a steady stream of well-wishers. The heavy doors at the entrance swing open. Rachel appears, 40 minutes late, with Brandon trailing behind like an afterthought. Her stride falters mid-step. Her mouth forms a perfect O as she takes in Castellano Prime's legendary opulence. "Breathe," Lucas whispers against my ear. "Remember we agreed." I squeeze his hand in response. We've been planning this moment for months. Rachel navigates between tables, her shock poorly concealed behind a brittle smile. When she reaches us, her eyes dart between the ice sculpture centerpiece and the waitstaff in their immaculate black uniforms. "This is unexpected," she says, voice pitched to Carrie just between us. How could you possibly afford this place? Isn't there a 2-year waiting list just to book a reservation? I made her gaze steadily. We have connections. Please, enjoy yourself. A waiter materializes with a tray of champagne. Perrier Jouet Belle Epoque, madame, he offers Rachel. She takes a flute, watching as the pale gold liquid catches the light. Brandon grabs 2. Connections. Rachel repeats flatly, taking a sip before her eyebrows shoot up at the taste. She forces a congratulatory kiss against my cheek before pulling Brandon toward their assigned table. I watch them go, catching fragments of her whispered commentary to relatives seated nearby. Must have maxed out multiple credit cards, showing off what they can't afford. They'll be in debt for decades. The words shouldn't sting after all this time, but they do. I'm transported back to that first dinner when I brought Lucas to meet my family. Rachel had emphasized her recent promotion 3 different times while asking Lucas how many tables he could handle during a shift. Then came the Christmas when she forgot to set a place for him, leaving Lucas standing awkwardly while my father scrambled to find another chair. Last summer's family barbecue when she loudly wondered if Lucas ever planned to find a real career while he was in earshot. A warm tear escapes before I can catch it. Lucas's thumb gently brushes it away. The past is just that, the past, he murmurs, his eyes crinkling at the corners. In about 10 minutes, none of it will matter. I nod, straightening my shoulders as the string quartet transitions to a new piece. Across the room, Rachel stands with Brandon near the bar, gesturing toward us, her voice carrying just enough for me to catch fragments. Put on appearances. School must pay better than I thought. Who pays the price when reality hits? The conversations around us suddenly dim as the reception hall doors swing open with authority. Marco Castellano enters, commanding attention without effort. At 78, he moves with the confidence of a man who has built an empire from nothing. His silver hair, impeccably tailored Italian suit, and discerning eyes mark him as someone accustomed to respect. Staff throughout the venue immediately straighten. The general manager rushes forward with deference that borders on reverence. Marco dismisses him with a gentle pat on the shoulder, his gaze fixed on Lucas. Rachel watches the commotion, confusion evident in the furrow of her brow. When Marco strides directly toward us, arms outstretched, her champagne glass tilts precariously. Mio nipote. Marco embraces Lucas warmly, speaking in rapid Italian before switching to English. Your grandmother would have been so proud today. Grandfather, Lucas responds with equal warmth. I'd like you to meet Amanda's sister, Rachel. Rachel's champagne flute slips from her fingers. It shatters against the marble floor with a crystalline explosion that momentarily silences nearby conversations. A waiter rushes forward with a towel, but she stands frozen, staring at Marco, then Lucas, then me. Grandfather? She repeats, the word barely audible. Marco's keen eyes assess her with the precision of a man who evaluates character as a matter of business survival. Yes, Lucas is my grandson and heir. Surely you knew? The family resemblance is quite strong. Rachel begins, but no more words follow. Marco Castellano. He introduces himself, not offering his hand. Owner of the Castellano Restaurant Group, including this establishment and 17 others across the country. His tone is conversational, but his eyes hold steel. She didn't know, Lucas explains quietly. None of Amanda's family did. The whispers spread through the reception like ripples in still water. My parents stand nearby, my mother's hand clutching her necklace. My father looking equal parts stunned and calculating. Next time, Marco says to Rachel, loud enough for those nearby to hear, judge a person by their character, not their job title. My grandson worked every position in our restaurants because I insisted he understand the dignity in all work before he leads those who do it. Rachel's husband suddenly appears at her side, his hand extended toward Marco with naked eagerness. Brandon Sterling, sir. I'm in investment management. Perhaps we could discuss. Perhaps later. Marco cuts him off politely but firmly, turning back to Lucas and me. I believe it's time for your first dance. As we move toward the center of the floor, I glance back at Rachel. She stands rigidly, her perfect makeup unable to hide the crimson flush of humiliation spreading across her cheeks. Brandon whispers urgently in her ear, no doubt strategizing how to leverage this unexpected connection. But it's Lucas who surprises me most. As the music begins, he leans close. I've asked the staff to make sure your sister and her husband are treated with particular attention, he says. After all, they're family now. Even after everything? I ask. Lucas's eyes find Rachel across the room. Even those who challenge us help us grow stronger, he says simply. Maybe she'll learn something today. As we begin to dance, I realize that Lucas has given Rachel something I never could, the chance to recognize her mistakes without losing her dignity completely. The mercy in his choice reveals more about his character than 1,000 Castellano restaurants ever could. I watch Rachel's Instagram post collect likes as if they're precious gems. She poses with Marco Castellano at the grand opening of his newest restaurant, her smile radiant beneath the crystal chandeliers. The caption reads, "Family dinner with Chicago's restaurant royalty. Blessed. Castellano family." The irony doesn't escape me. 6 months ago, she publicly humiliated Lucas for being just a waiter. Now her social media brims with Castellano connections. Each photo more staged than the last, Rachel sampling exclusive menu items, offering expert opinions on wine pairings, tagging every Chicago influencer who might notice. Lucas sets a mug of coffee on the side table and glances at my phone. She's changed her LinkedIn profile again. I tap the app and there it is. Rachel Sterling, restaurant industry consultant. No mention of qualifications beyond being related to the Castellanos by marriage. This is the third career pivot in 2 months. I say, the words tasting bitter. Lucas sits beside me, his hand warm on my knee. Marco mentioned Brandon's been dropping our name to potential investors. The thought settles like a stone in my stomach. Brandon Sterling, Rachel's investment banker husband, suddenly claiming special insight into the restaurant industry through his Castellano connections. Are they really using our relationship to drum up business? Even as I ask, I already know the answer. Lucas shrugs. Marco says he's landing meetings with people who wouldn't have returned his call 6 months ago. And just like that, doors swing open for the Sterling couple. Exclusive reservation lists miraculously find space for them. Brandon's investment newsletters now feature insider perspectives on restaurant trends. Their social standing seems to climb with each calculated name drop. A hollow victory, built on shifting sand. The headline glares from my laptop screen. Sterling Investments under federal investigation. I blink, certain I've misread. But the words remain unchanged, black and damning against the white background. My phone buzzes. Rachel's name appears for the 5th time today. I let it go to voicemail just as I've done with the previous calls. Whatever crisis she's manufacturing this time can wait until I finish grading these essays. But the buzzing continues, insistent and desperate. When it finally stops, a text appears. "Amanda, please, it's serious. They came to the house. With warrants _ My stomach drops. I call Lucas immediately. By evening, Rachel's name has become Brandon's headline. Sterling Investments under investigation for massive fraud splashes across financial news sites. Photos show federal agents carrying boxes from their lakefront home. In each shot, Rachel stands frozen on the porch, her perfect blowout and designer outfit incongruent with the devastation in her eyes. I call her back. The phone rings and rings. No answer. 3 days later, she finally returns my call. Her voice sounds hollow, stripped of its usual polish. "They've frozen everything," she whispers. "Every account. The cars, the house. They're saying Brandon ran a Ponzi scheme for years. My teacher's salary and Lucas's restaurant empire suddenly feel like grotesque wealth compared to Rachel's free fall from grace. Do you need a place to stay?" I ask. A bitter laugh crackles through the phone. My so-called friends won't even take my calls. Funny how quickly they disappear when you can't pick up the dinner tab. The auction sign appears outside Rachel's Chicago lakefront property 2 weeks later. I drive past slowly, wincing at the vultures already circling luxury real estate agents assessing the property's potential, neighbors pretending not to stare. That night, Rachel calls again. Brandon has taken a plea deal that minimizes his own sentence while implicating several associates. Self-preservation to the end. He didn't even tell me, she says, her voice flat with disbelief. I found out when his lawyer called to say I should find separate representation. The following afternoon, I find myself parking outside Rachel's nearly empty house. Through the massive windows, I watch movers carrying out the last pieces of furniture. Rachel stands in the center of the echoing living room, arms wrapped around herself as if holding her body together by sheer will. She doesn't notice me watching from the street. I don't go in. 3 weeks later, Rachel stares at her reflection in a budget motel bathroom. I know this because she sends me a photo no filter, no makeup, dark circles shadowing her eyes. The message reads, I don't know who I am without all of this. _ It's the most honest thing she's ever shared with me. Her texts come in bursts now. She's applied for waitress positions at 12 restaurants. All rejections. They can smell the entitlement on me, she writes with surprising self-awareness. One manager actually laughed when I couldn't explain how to operate a commercial coffee machine. I suggest community college courses, training programs, entry-level office work. With what money? She responds. With what skills? I have a useless art history degree and a decade of planning charity galas. No one's hiring for that in this economy. For the first time in her life, Rachel prays. She tells me this during a late-night call, her voice small and unfamiliar. I actually got on my knees, Amanda. Me. Can you believe it? I can hear the rain through her motel window. The same storm rattles our penthouse windows across town. Lucas and I can help, I offer cautiously. I know, she whispers, but I need to try everything else first. Everything else runs out exactly 17 days later. The security guard calls up from the lobby at 11:42 p.m. Mrs. Reed, your sister is here. She's quite insistent. On the security monitor, Rachel stands dripping onto the marble floor. Her hair hangs in wet strings around her face. The designer handbag she carries her last valuable possession sags from the rain. Should I send her up? Lucas asks quietly. I hesitate, remembering every cutting remark, every dismissive glance, every moment Rachel made Lucas feel less than. Then I remember the little girl who held my hand on the first day of kindergarten, fierce and protective despite her own fears. Yes, I finally answer. Send her up. When we open the door, Rachel crumbles. Not gracefully, not dramatically, but with the complete surrender of someone who has finally hit bottom. Mascara tracks her cheeks. Her shoulders shake with silent sobs. I have nowhere else to go, she whispers. And despite everything, I open my arms. I fold my hands in my lap, struggling to reconcile the polished marble countertops of our penthouse kitchen with the disheveled woman sitting across from us. Rachel's mascara has left raccoon smudges beneath her eyes. Her designer blouse, the same one she wore when criticizing Lucas's cheap watch at Christmases, wrinkled and spotted with what looks like coffee. We want to help you, I say, my voice steadier than I feel, but not the way you're asking. Lucas sits beside me, his posture relaxed, but his eyes observant. The confident restaurateur is visible now, not the humble waiter my family dismissed. Rachel keeps glancing at him, as if still adjusting to this reality. What does that mean exactly? Rachel's voice cracks. She clutches her empty teacup like it might anchor her to our granite island. Lucas leans forward. It means we're offering employment, not a handout. Employment? Rachel blinks rapidly. You mean at one of your restaurants? Bernardo's, Lucas specifies. As a waitress. The cup trembles in Rachel's hand. You want me to work as a waitress in your restaurant? Her voice rises on the final word, as if she's just been asked to clean sewers with her bare hands. I meet her eyes directly. You need to understand the dignity in all honest work, Rachel. The same work you mocked at our wedding. Rachel flinches, as if I've slapped her. Good. Some truths should sting. We'll provide a modest efficiency apartment. Lucas adds, his tone businesslike. And a job that will cover your basic expenses if you manage carefully. Rachel sets the cup down with a sharp clink against the saucer. This is revenge, isn't it? Making me serve people after everything. This is opportunity, I interrupt, surprising myself with my firmness. Something most people in your situation wouldn't have. Take it or leave it. The grandfather clock in our foyer ticks loudly in the silence. 1 second, 2, 3. Rachel's shoulders slump as reality settles on them like a physical weight. I don't have a choice, do I? She whispers. Everyone has choices, Lucas responds. This is simply the one we're offering. Rachel wipes away a tear with the back of her hand. When do I start? The efficiency apartment is clean but stark. Beige walls, beige carpet, beige countertops. Rachel stands in the center, arms crossed tightly across her chest, as I hang simple black slacks and white button-downs in the narrow closet. The uniform policy is strict, I explain, smoothing a wrinkle from one of the shirts. Black non-slip shoes, pressed slacks, tucked shirts. Your first paycheck won't come for 2 weeks, so these should get you through. Rachel nods mutely, staring out the single window overlooking the parking lot. The view is a far cry from her former lake-facing terrace. Lucas called Miguel. He's the morning manager. You start tomorrow at 5. 5 in the morning? Rachel's head whips around. Breakfast shift. They do a big business with commuters. I place a simple alarm clock on the bedside table. The bus schedule is on the refrigerator. It's about a 20-minute ride. Rachel sinks onto the edge of the bed. For a moment, I see the sister who used to braid my hair before school, who taught me to ride a bike, before status and appearances consumed her. I don't know how to be a waitress, she says softly. I don't know how to be poor. I sit beside her, leaving space between us. You're not poor, Rachel. You're starting over. There's a difference. She doesn't respond, and I don't push. The silence between us holds years of competition, judgment, and hurt. But beneath it, something else stirs the faint pulse of possibility. The call comes at 9:30 that night. I'm grading papers when Lucas answers, his expression shifting from concern to amusement as he listens. Your sister, he says, handing me the phone. The coffee machine hates me, Rachel announces without preamble, her voice tight with frustration. Miguel made me practice for an hour, and I still can't get the espresso right. And these shoes are already giving me blisters. And I broke a stack of plates during training, which apparently comes out of my first paycheck. I bite back a lecture about how most people learn these skills in high school, not at 32. Did you ask someone to show you again? I shouldn't have to ask. Her voice rises before abruptly dropping. Sorry, that's not fair. This is harder than I thought it would be. Progress, however small. It gets easier, I offer. And Miguel is tough but fair. He said I have the worst hands he's ever seen on a new server. Rachel's laugh holds no humor. He's not wrong. I've got 3 burns already. I think of the younger servers I've watched at Bernardo's, many supporting families, or putting themselves through school, managing complex orders with grace. You'll get better. Just watch the experienced staff. And Rachel? What? Thank the kitchen staff. They can make or break your shift. A long pause. I didn't think of that. Another pause. Amanda, thank you for this chance. I know I don't deserve it. After we hang up, Lucas wraps his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. Still think this will work? He asks. I lean back against his chest, remembering Rachel's face when she realized what work actually entails. It might, I say cautiously. It just might. 2 weeks later, Rachel texts me a photo of her first paycheck. It's modest, barely enough for rent and necessities. But beneath the image is a message that makes me smile. Bought groceries today, with money I earned. Weird feeling. Good weird, though. Lucas glances over my shoulder at the message. See the little plant in the background? I look closer and notice a small potted succulent on her windowsill. A tiny green thing adding life to that beige apartment. This might actually be working, Lucas says, echoing my own thoughts from days ago. I nod, hoping he's right. The Rachel who objected at our wedding would never have found satisfaction in a small plant purchased with waitress wages. But perhaps this new Rachel, the one learning the value of work and the weight of a hard-earned dollar, might find something more valuable than status in the process. Time will tell. For now, a single text and a small green plant are enough to nurture hope. I pause at the entrance of Bernardo's, watching as Rachel glides between tables with a grace I've never seen in her before. 6 months have transformed my sister. Gone is the rigid posture of entitlement. In its place, a woman who moves with purpose through the restaurant, balancing plates along her arm with practiced ease. Third time this week, Mr. Gianelli has requested Rachel's section. Lucas murmurs beside me, his hand warm against the small of my back. Says she remembers exactly how he likes his espresso. The observation settles in my chest like a small victory. We stand unnoticed for a moment longer, observing as Rachel leans down to chat with an elderly couple, her laughter genuine as she jots their order without looking at her pad. "Ready?" Lucas asks, and I nod, squeezing his hand as we finally make our presence known. Rachel spots us immediately, her eyes brightening. She holds up one finger, a request for patience, rather than dismissal, and delivers steaming plates to a nearby foretop before approaching. "Sorry about that," she says, smoothing her black apron. "I wasn't expecting you until later." "We wrapped up our meeting early," Lucas explains. "Thought we'd see if you wanted to grab coffee after your shift." "I'd love to, but I promised Maria I'd help with side work so she can make her daughter's recital tonight." Rachel tucks a strand of hair behind her ear, revealing a simplicity I never thought possible in my status-conscious sister. "Rain check?" I'm still processing this unexpected consideration for a coworker when a commotion erupts near the bar. A woman with carefully highlighted blonde hair and an expertly tailored suit is snapping her fingers at a young server who looks close to tears. "That's Veronica," I whisper to Lucas, one of Rachel's old country club friends. Before Lucas can respond, Rachel is already moving, positioning herself between the flustered new server and Veronica with subtle authority. "I'll take care of this table, Emma," she says quietly to the girl before turning to face her former friend. I edge closer to hear the exchange. Rachel Sterling, Veronica's voice drips with manufactured surprise. "I almost didn't recognize you in that uniform." My sister doesn't flinch. "It's Rachel Collins now. I went back to my maiden name." Her voice remains steady, professional. "What can I get for you today, Veronica?" "I'm actually meeting the Prestons for lunch. You remember Greg Preston? His investment firm is simply thriving." Veronica's emphasis on the word feels like a deliberate reminder of Brandon's downfall. "We'll need your best table, of course." "Of course," Rachel responds with a smile that seems genuine despite everything. "Emma has already prepared the corner booth with a view of the garden. Would you like to start with sparkling water while you wait for your party?" I hold my breath, waiting for the cutting remark, the deliberate attempt to put Rachel in her place. It comes swiftly. "How the mighty have fallen," Veronica says, voice lowered but clearly intended to carry. "From hosting charity galas to asking if I want still or sparkling. Does it sting, Rachel? Serving people who used to be your equals?" Lucas shifts beside me, ready to intervene, but I place a restraining hand on his arm. "Wait," I whisper. Rachel straightens her shoulders, something flashing in her eyes that isn't anger but something steadier dignity. "Actually, Veronica," she says quietly, "I've discovered there's honor in serving others well. Something I never understood when I was too busy judging everyone around me." She gestures toward the booth. "Your table is ready whenever you are." Veronica's mouth opens slightly, clearly unprepared for this response. The gentleman at the neighboring table, who I recognize as Judge Emmett from the circuit court, catches Rachel's eye with an approving nod. Lucas and I watch as Rachel continues her shift, unfazed by Veronica's presence. When we finally leave, promising to connect later, I notice Judge Emmett discreetly leaving his table. The tip he places under his coffee cup catches the light I glimpse, several large bills folded neatly together. Christmas Eve transforms our penthouse into something from a Norman Rockwell painting, pine garlands winding up banisters. the scent of cinnamon and nutmeg wafting from the kitchen where Rachel and I stand shoulder to shoulder, rolling out pie dough like we haven't done since we were children. "Remember when Mom taught us to crimp the edges?" Rachel asks, her fingers expertly forming perfect scallops along the crust. "You always made yours look like little hearts. And you always made yours mathematically perfect?" I laugh, noticing how easily we've fallen into rhythm together, a synchronicity I thought we'd lost forever. Rachel's hands pause in their work. "I was awful to you," she says suddenly, voice like, "not just at the wedding, always." I set down my rolling pin, flour dusting my hands as I turn toward her. "Rachel." "No, please let me finish." Her eyes meet mine, unguarded in a way I've never seen. "I made everything a competition. Your accomplishments, your relationships. I was so focused on appearing successful that I never learned what success actually meant." The confession hangs between us, years of tension releasing like a long-held breath. I reach across the floury countertop and take her hand in mine. "We were raised to value the wrong things," I say softly. "But you figured it out sooner," Rachel whispers, tears brimming. "You saw Lucas for who he really was." The sound of Lucas clearing his throat interrupts us. He stands in the doorway, a look of quiet satisfaction on his face as he takes in our flour-dusted appearances and clasped hands. "Grandfather just arrived," he says, "and the timing seems perfect." Christmas dinner glows with candlelight and conversation. Marco Castellano tells stories of his childhood in Italy, while we pass dishes family-style around the table. The elegant simplicity feels right more authentic than all the formal holiday dinners of our childhood. When the dessert plates are cleared, Rachel stands, her fingers nervously folding her napkin. The room quiets as she finds her voice. "I need to say something," she begins, her eyes moving from face to face before settling on Lucas. "I judged you without knowing you. I valued status over character. I objected to your marriage because I couldn't see past my own shallow definitions of success." Her voice breaks, but she steadies herself. "I was wrong about everything that matters." Across the table, Marco Castellano nods slowly, the patriarch's approval warming the room as effectively as the crackling fire in the hearth. Lucas reaches for my hand under the table, and I feel the gentle squeeze that has become our private language, a reminder that even painful journeys can lead to unexpected grace. I watch Rachel from across the dining room, pride swelling in my chest despite our complicated history. She moves with confident efficiency between tables, her manager's blazer crisp over a simple black dress. Gone is the artificial smile she once wore at country club functions, replaced by something genuine that reaches her eyes. "Table 7 needs more time with the wine list," she tells a newer server, her hand resting briefly on the young woman's shoulder. "And Mr. Castellano prefers the Barolo decanted for at least 30 minutes. The server nods gratefully and hurries away. Rachel handles a mix-up with a reservation next, diffusing the situation with a calm authority that has the hostess visibly relieved. I nudge Lucas beside me. "Look at her," I whisper. "Remember when she couldn't carry 3 plates without disaster?" Lucas's fingers intertwine with mine, his wedding band cool against my skin. "She's earned every bit of this," he says. From his corner table, Marco observes everything with the watchful eyes of a man who built an empire from a single storefront. When a sommelier hesitates over a wine pairing, Marco doesn't intervene, simply nods toward Rachel. His trust in her judgment speaks volumes. When the dinner rush subsides, Lucas catches Rachel's eye and gestures toward the office. Curiosity flickers across her face as she hands her tablet to the assistant manager. "You're glowing," she says when she joins us, eyes dropping to my slightly rounded belly. "Both of you. What's this impromptu meeting about?" Lucas pulls out a chair for me before taking his own seat. The office smells of leather and the faint citrus of Rachel's organized filing system. One wall displays framed photos Rachel with her restaurant team, our family at Christmas, Marco teaching Rachel how to properly taste olive oil. "We have news," Lucas says, sliding a leather portfolio across the desk. Rachel raises an eyebrow, her fingers hesitant as she lifts the cover. I watch her scan the first page, her expression shifting from confusion to disbelief. River North location. Modern Italian fusion concept, managing partner. She looks up, voice barely audible. You want me to be the managing partner? Not want, I correct gently. Need. The concept needs someone who understands both worlds' fine dining standards with accessibility. Lucas leans forward. You've earned this, Rachel. Not because you're family, but because you're qualified. She turns the page to architectural renderings of space flooded with natural light. An open kitchen, walls of windows facing the Chicago River. I don't know what to say, she whispers, fingers tracing the blueprint. Say yes, Lucas suggests. Marco's already approved the business plan. We break ground next month. 3 weeks later, Rachel leads us through the empty restaurant space, her voice animated as she describes her vision. Sunlight streams through dust-covered windows, painting golden rectangles on concrete floors. We'll have the bar here, she says, gesturing toward the river view. And I want the kitchen visible, no pretension, total transparency. She stops beside a wall near the planned entrance. I'm going to frame my first server's apron and hang it right here, to remind me and everyone who works for me that there's honor in every position. I grasp Lucas's hand tighter as Rachel continues through the space, describing interview questions designed to test character alongside experience. Marco will sit here on opening night, she declares, standing at the best table, and I'll serve him myself. 6 months later, Rachel stands before a community college hospitality class, her restaurant thriving beyond projections. The students lean forward as she speaks in chances and the danger of pride. I had to lose everything I thought mattered to gain what truly does, she tells them. That evening, Lucas and I bring our newborn daughter to visit the bustling restaurant. Rachel excuses herself from the kitchen to hold her niece, whispers something in the baby's ear as she rocks her gently. What did you tell her? I ask. Rachel smiles, wisdom in her eyes that wasn't there a year ago. I told her that her worth isn't what she owns, but who she is.